Hey guys, DagTex here, and welcome to How Do I 3x3 Door. Now this fella right here is actually my best design, but it took me a long time to get to where I learned how to make that, and over time I learned some very good tricks that go into making 3x3 doors. So without further ado, I'm going to share them with you. Step 1 is pretty simple. You just got to make a 3x3 opening with the floor and wall blocks that you want, and ceiling blocks. And it will require these pistons just like this for the basic setup that I'm going to show you that pushes the middle block out of the floor. Now this piston here can go on the right or the left, and there will be two more pistons added that will be optional for where you want to put them. The first one will go either there or there, and the second one will go either there or there. So now let's move on to step number 3. Step number 3 is the double block extender circuit. It works just like this. A torch powers into this block after X ticks. And at X plus 1 ticks, this piston, which is holding that block, is depowered, causing this block to only be there for 1 tick with power, which causes this piston to get a 1 tick pulse, spitting out this block. Then, after X plus 2 ticks, power goes here, causing this piston to extend and this piston to extend. When they both extend, this block goes where this block is, causing the two blocks to then be stacked vertically, and this block goes to take power from this torch, repowering this piston right here, pushing them both up. Now let me show you that. Ta-da! And then, if you depower it, it actually performs the first block retraction, bringing the block that was right here back where it started. Now this is the same timing setup for my 3x3 tileable door. So let's watch that in action. Ta-da! It works just the same. So that's what goes into those. Now let me show you how to build one just real easy for this. Start with a block there. You're going to want to then put a piston there. Now this is the block that needs a torch going into it, so let's put a torch there. Now what I like to do with the timing for this, and I like to build it with torches, is that I remember that there is a 1 torch difference in timing between when this gets power and when this piston right here should get powered. So this is my 1 torch difference. It's powering nothing besides that block, which then has that torch right there. And then from that torch I can get another torch, and if you did it right, you should be able to just power it and have it reset. Now when you set it up, it will have pushed out that floor block to the side, but just fix that once and it won't break again. So that works really well. Now what you will notice is that when I turn this on, this piston right here also gets powered. Now this piston is the first of the wall and ceiling pistons that we need to power, and that brings me into step 3, which is getting those things power. So I'm going to show you how to build that circuit with magenta. Now this torch turns on obviously at the correct time, so let's use another torch at the same block to then bring the power up into this piston. Now from there I can also then put my first optional piston, which I'm going to show you how to do it right there. We can also put it on the ceiling if you would prefer, and I can just then bring that power up and around. I'm going to use half slabs for some very nice vertical redstone transmission right there. And all this keeps it 1 wide, by the way. It's very simple to make 1 wide. And so then I'm going to bring it over into this piston just like that. I can actually bring power around it by bringing redstone over it, but what I want to do is I want to actually reduce the height by 1, getting rid of that redstone, and instead suck power to there with a repeater. So that is a little trick on how to keep things a little bit smaller. Now I'm going to put my second optional piston there, and I'm going to just then bring the power down from that repeater just like that. It powers those two. So to get the third one, I'm gonna then just suck power out of this block right there. And that's it, fully closed. If we flick the lever, it should open. But it leaves this one middle block, which brings us to step number 4. Step number 4 is a double piston extender design that only can use one side of these pistons, because the other side is obviously used for our original double block extender. So the way that a very simple design works is this, which I first saw by a guy named Codecrafted, but it's all over there on the interwebs. So it works just by popping it up. That torch powers that block, which gets that one power, and it's also powering this piston. And due to one being extended at any given time, that one first goes down, that one's then getting power from the lever. But then if I flick it again, it switches because this first wants to turn off, at the same time this is going to turn on. And then if I flip it again, because this was powered, this couldn't extend, which causes this one to just be able to depower, and then it's left. And that also ends up making this into a bud switch, just like that. So then, the thing though is with this design, you flick it once to turn on, but you need to flick it twice to bring it back down. So how do we get that timing? Well, I actually like to use this design over here, which actually works just for the retractions. The way it works is a pulse is put through here, and this pulse causes this torch to turn off, bringing that on for the first time, and then it will turn back while power is timed up through here, which will retract this block, preventing the torch from powering that, which will allow this torch to turn on for the second time, and that's both times it needs to turn on. So let's watch that in action. Perfect. So now let's get to building that. I'm going to be building this design in blue. So obviously you start out with that. Then if you remember, that got power from a piece of redstone powered by a torch through a block. Now this fella got power from a pulsar, which will need to be on at least 2 ticks here because torches don't accept 1-tick pulses. The pulsar needs to get power from here, and it needs to be doing it with a repeater, which I'm going to just put on 4 ticks for safety. If you put redstone here, it would actually cause this bottom one to bud, and that would prevent it from working. And it will get power at the same time from that, just like that. And so then this needs to be retracted by a piston, so we'll put a piston there. This will need to be replaced by a half slab because otherwise it will get power when we put the torch right here, which powers that piston, because otherwise it would put power into that wool block powering that piston. We don't want that one to be powered. So then this has to come down with a torch tower down this far. So 2 torches, and we need a repeater on 3 ticks connecting those. Just like that. And what you will notice is that that's probably budded at this point, and so to undo that, I always like to put a button right there, because pressing that will cause 1 flick of the lever basically, and that will always fix it. So now this should completely work. Just like that, and like that. So there is then the optional step 5, which I always like. Step 5 is just making it button activated by putting a little T flip-floppy thing there. And also you can add on a little bit of extra security just by putting a piece of immovable material there, and that'll prevent this from pushing the floor blocks over and breaking it by accident at any given time. So that's all, and you should be able to make your own 3x3 doors now. Hopefully you've learned something. Have a good one, guys.